So we now have 5 speakers here on the panel. I'd like to kind of have this panel discussion open to explore the whole aspects of preparing the construction sector, which we are all in adoption of AI and robotics. Right, we talk about the confusion, we talk about the concerns, we went through a couple of case studies, we look at all the different aspects of using technology from 3D printing right down to interior design, the full cycle of buildings. So what's stopping us? What really is stopping us from adopting AI, robotics, automation? What's stopping us? So this is where I like to move into this discussion with our 5 speakers here. And let us kind of tap on their brains, find out what they think. They are the evangelists who have been promoting technology in the construction sector, right? They want to make things happen. They are trying to introduce technology into the industry itself. So as owners, as users in this industry, what's stopping you from adopting technology? So let me kind of go through the list of speakers again. Of course, at the far right, Kevin Kwa, who talked to you about data preparation, right, from BuildTech. Mika, who shared with you the use of LiDAR technology, radar to scan, pick up information, and build the accuracy in data capture. Stephen, who shared with you the adoption of AI from both the engineering angle and the technology standpoint. And of course, our 2 founders who have invested into specific technology, which we believe could be the next frontier of how we adopt it. So if I look at the span of speakers here, you have lawyers, you have engineers, you have AI specialists, you have practitioners, you have founders. You're a whole spread of people from all different perspectives. And they're all set here to kind of discuss this topic around how do we prepare you in the construction sector in adoption of AI and robotics. So at first run, I'm going to ask each of them to share a 2-3 sentence comment on what they think are the current challenges in adopting AI and robotics in the construction sector. So I'm going to start from far end, Kevin. Right. Let me know, tell us, what do you think are the challenges stopping us from doing it?
So I think for a lot of people, the issue might be cost, right? In terms of like adopting a new artificial intelligence model or any kind of AI software. The answer or the rebuttal that I will give to that, in fact, would be that the cost might not be as high as you think, because like you have to understand the human cost as well. So if you're adopting something like safety analytics, right? What is the cost of a human life when compared to spending maybe 50K on a safety analytics solution, right? And also, in the grand scheme of things, your entire building site, your entire construction might be worth $100 million. What 50K is like a drop in the water to make sure that nobody dies on your construction site. Right, and that's just one example. There are so many others with regard to like maybe even like building inspection or like safety audio as well. Right, all these are really critical for ensuring that people are firstly safe and your buildings are up to scratch.
Good, thank you. Mika.
Maybe we are a little bit afraid. We're afraid of new things, and maybe we're afraid of failure.
Well, fear of failure, definitely it is, right? The concerns, the unknowns that technology is going to bring about to the sector. Good comment. Stephen?
I think there's 2 sides to it. So I think there's like the cultural side, which is like new technology, perhaps some unreliability and a new way of working, which, in the construction industry, when there's a lot of liability and risk, it's harder necessarily to like bring new technology into workflow, but also like with what Kevin was saying in terms of like there's a lot of need for label data in the industry in order to build these new AI applications. So there's definitely a bottleneck in that side. Like we need more label data for sure.
Sure. The mention of culture, I think it centers around the maturity of your organization, the maturity of the users in adopting technology. If you have a whole company of people who are competent with technology, who's both trained on AI, legal aspects, and civil engineering. Then, of course, we have the right mix of people to help you adopt technology. Just kidding. But I think the maturity within an organization is a very important piece. Let's hear from the two founders. What's stopping the construction industry from adopting technology? Ladies first.
Thank you. Well, I have to agree with Mika. I would say worry, I think, is one of the things that we have been discussing in my team, how to use the AI instead of worrying that it will compete with us.
Well, I guess there's not much to add, but maybe from, let's say, the investor point of view, well, yes, we always are looking for all disruptive new ideas, potential new technologies which are going to revolutionize certain industry. Well, not easy to find. I think it comes back to the mindset and well, which already has been mentioned a couple of times, that we may be afraid of adapting new technologies, new things, and then easily go back to the old ways, even though we know that the AI is a good tool, but then still, well, it takes courage to go over the edge and then really just start using it.
Sure. You know, I'm going to ask the next question, which can't relate to this problem, right? So we talk about the challenges, what's stopping us. So I'm going to direct the next question to Kevin and Stephen, right? Given their background and their enthusiasm, what would be the first steps you would advise to the audience here, right, to start to consider adopting technology? What were the first steps they should do, right, to adopt AI and robotics in their respective space? So Kevin, first with you.
I think the first step that anyone could do is just Google, right? Because there are so many things that technology can do nowadays that you wouldn't even think about, right? Even just 5 years ago, right? So there are a lot of fantastical things that technology has already enabled that you would think, hey, 5 years ago that was not possible, or that seems like science fiction, right? So a lot of like the current, the state of the art right now is in fact way beyond anything that you could have imagined just a while back, right? So a great example would be everyone's favorite topic nowadays, which is ChatGPT, right? Right, amazing technology, and to this extent, right, it's already beyond something that like sci-fi writers have predicted maybe even 20 years ago, right? So it's that kind of power that you need to understand. First and foremost, just go to any kind of technology website, try and understand within the space of like recent advancements within the construction industry in terms of technology, and see what is out there, right? But of course, you do also need to spend some time to cut out like what the fluff is, right? Because sometimes there are going to be companies that claim to do something they can't actually. Yeah.
So the advice here is go out there, find out what is available, what's happening, the trend that's taking place. Stephen, let's hear from you.
I think one of the first things to do would be to email one of us. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that a lot of software nowadays actually has like some free option or some like freemium approach where you can get started with it and see how you like it and if it's improving your day-to-day work before you decide to sort of purchase it. So a lot of software nowadays offers something like that. So it's worth, if there is a problem you're having, like not necessarily being put off of needing to speak to like salespeople and to really commit to something. Quite often you can try it just through a Google search, going on their website, seeing if you like it. So I'd say that would be where I'd start.
Wonderful. You know, the whole aspects of understanding and learning what's available out there is a very interesting discussion. When Apara was first put together and organized in 2018, 2019, one of the key mission that we wanted to put across was to create a platform to allow anyone to know what's available across the border, right? And hence, we have over 3,000 associates from the Americas right down to New Zealand, up north into Korea and Japan, to understand what is everybody doing. Because by doing that, you can know who is doing what, what's happening, the success and failure of each. And like what Kevin mentioned, right? go into ChatGPT. Now, talking about ChatGPT, I'm not sure how many of you are actually using it. Now, that would be a very interesting question for you to ask ChatGPT. Ask them who you are. I've tried typing in, who is Oliver Tien? And let's see what ChatGPT comes out. You know, if you get a chance to kind of load up the software onto your laptop, one of the first questions you ask is, who is your name? And let's see what ChatGPT can find for you. Its access into this vast repository on the internet is quite amazing because you never know what you will find. Right? I won't tell you what ChatGPT say about me, but I'd like you to go back and type into ChatGPT, who are you? And you'll be discovering something very interesting from what ChatGPT comes about. So the key message to all of you is find out what is available. The whole awareness, right? The whole awareness of technology that's available, who is trying out what application and innovation, and bring that in. Now, I'm going to direct the next question to our two founders, right? And probably even Mika, right? In looking at what is available, there's always the need to localize and see how it fits into your current environment, right? I spent quite a bit of time talking to professors in Oxford and BGU to understand some of the innovations that is taking place there. The question is, what was created out in Europe may or may not be immediately deployable into Southeast Asia. So how do we kind of bridge the gap between demand and supply? Right? The demand and supply within a locality, within the same geography, could be easily addressed because we both understand both the demand and the supply. The users understand, right, the requirements. But when we bring it across border, more needs to be done. So I'm going to ask this question to Katerina, Pasi, and Mika. Given that they're from Europe, right, when we're looking at technology that we want to bring across from Europe into Southeast Asia, what are some of the considerations and what are some of the aspects that you like to look at in this form of cross-border transfer of knowledge? Mika, we'll start with you. Oh, Pasi, we'll start with you.
Well, I think the events like this definitely, maybe I know I'm old-fashioned when I'm saying this, but during the COVID times when we were not able to travel, then at least I did feel that we are lacking a lot and missing a lot, so that coming to the events like this, meeting people face to face in the old-fashioned way, at least it has always worked for me, and then the ideas really are coming up from those discussions. When you are meeting somebody over Zoom or Google, it's never the same, and I guess that understanding then helps us then to customize or to localize the solutions in a way that they are really then adding value to different markets. I used to work for Nokia, so I have all this, let's say, a very global, international business background. So that being global, being international, that's always the way I've been working. And now, lately, after leaving that corporate world, then I've been amazed to see actually then when discussing and dealing with the people who haven't been exposed to such an environment, for instance, up north in Finland or Nordic countries, then how, let's say, limited their scope and their vision may be, so then after leaving that corporate global business world, then I realized then what kind of luxury I was having at the time, and then really seeing the opportunities, and I was, for instance, coming to Singapore quite often at the time, so that at least to me, those were the occasions when my eyes were open and I could see new opportunities.
I would say for me, most important thing is asking questions, because we don't want to assume anything. Of course, we have thoughts, but the most important thing is ask questions from the local people here. And understanding the customer, understanding the needs for the customer, what's the aching pain, and how our solution can give an answer to that one. Yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, that's true. You have to be courage to ask, to listen, and if your language is bad, just listen carefully, and you might learn something new. I did in this trip.
And I think they are alluding to a particular perspective, which I personally believe in, and that is the rise of a second innovation model. Innovations take place all over the world, right? Whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia, whether it's up north in Japan, Korea, but there is always a need for a second innovation. And I look forward to potentially investors who understand that need for a second innovation, to localize, to address the needs that the local users will face. Asking questions that's suggested by Katerina is definitely a good aspect, but asking questions and understanding the pain requires then to look into a second innovation, right, for the technology we're looking at. Over the weekend, I was doing a presentation to Hong Kong's Mega Bay Foundation, and I was talking to the audience there around the fact that when we look at the whole technical arena, there's always the science, which are the facts that you cannot change. You're looking at the technology which has been put in place by good founders who believe you can use this technology for appropriate use. And then there's the innovation piece, right, where you put the science and technology together and apply it to make sure it becomes a lot more user-friendly. And that's going to be a key word. The human element is going to be so powerful in adoption of technology that at the end of the day, you want to make sure you build a solution, you build an application that the human uses, and not that it turn out to be a white elephant. With all the investments, you want to make sure there's sufficient return on investment. And Kevin alluded to that fact earlier, right? We can do all the data annotations and data preparation. If the human is not excited about doing what he's doing, right, you're going to face the challenge of having the quality of the outcome that the database is being built about. So then I'll turn the question around in a reverse manner, right? What can users like yourself do when you search for a solution? What would you do to step up, besides taking the first step that we talked about earlier? What would you do to be able to see whether a solution, a technology, fits into your environment? So if I go back to our list of speakers here again, I would like to ask them, what would be their expectation of you as a user of technology, somebody who's excited about deploying 3D printed houses, for example, or for that matter, using LiDAR and radar technology to measure accuracy of data. But what would they expect you to do to help them bring the technology, the innovation closer to you? So once again, I'm going to start from the corner. What would you expect the users to tell you in order for you to bring that technology solution to them?
Sure. I think the first thing that I want everyone to kind of have is like this kind of draws a bit from the product-led mindset, which is that every time you encounter a problem and you're like, oh, why am I encountering this problem? You write it down, right? So whenever you encounter like some sort of problem that you never faced before, all right, you are facing on a daily basis, right? You know, maybe you're like, oh, why is my toothbrush running out of battery every day or something like that? You know, some silly problem that you might think is silly, but it's inconveniencing you on a day-to-day basis. Write it down. That could be a really amazing feature that somebody could build in for you one day, right? So if you're using like any kind of app or using technology, or even if it's something as mundane as, you know, even traveling on the bus or on the train, right? And you're feeling, hey, why do I have to do this in order to do something else, right? Write it down so that like you have a list of problems that you're wondering whether you can solve or not. Then at the end of the day, once you have all of these like lists of problems written down, I encourage you to just go on your own Google journey, or even ask ChatGPT if you want, whether or not there are any solutions to these problems, right? And you'll be surprised. People come up with like crazy ideas to solve like seemingly everyday mundane problems all the time. So the first thing to do is just to be able to note down all the problems that you have. Don't even start thinking about the solutions. Just figure out what the problems that you have are, right? And somebody will want to answer them.
Thank you. Mika?
Yeah, there is. We have a lot of solved cases. Maybe the problem is solved that way. Somebody else has the same problem, and challenge us to give you that information what you need of that problem, and that's our job, and we are ready to listen.
Thank you. Stephen?
I'd say one thing that's helped us a lot is quite often there'll be some like fresh graduates in an engineering office, and they'll be really enthusiastic about some new technology. They'll find it online, and quite often they'll really be like a champion in the office. So it's like, do the fresh graduates who are working in the engineering office have this like way to voice out like the software they think's exciting and that could help the team? Because I know from our experience, some of these people can be really helpful in terms of bringing the whole office forward, even though they're just new to the company.
Thank you. And let's hear now from a user who converted herself into a founder, right? She had problems with interior design, and she felt that she should jump out now and create a solution. So Catherine, what advice would you give to the users?
What I expect is to please answer my questions. Maybe that's the most important thing. And feedback, of course. Yesterday I had great chats with people, and people were showing pictures from their homes here in Singapore. So it was really eye-opening to see how people live in here.
And Pasi?
There are no stupid questions or stupid feedback, so so be brave. Well, challenge us. Well, if you think that this piece of technology can be used this way. For instance, yesterday, I was showing that Pallo device to one person here, and then. Well, got a question back that actually not going to tell you what he was asking, because doesn't have new idea how it can be utilized, and that maybe even something we can patent. I already called the founder that have you ever been thinking this can we use Pallo this way, and no, that interesting. Basically, so that new way of using it. Well, no one clearly has been thinking that anything like that might be possible. So that now we really got something to discuss, investigate further. So like I said, if you think, you may think that my idea is not good. Just say it out loud. Actually, it may be really the diamond for us, and something we haven't been thinking about at all.
Thank you. In fact, I take one message away, right? Anecdote your problem. Many times when we encounter issues in our day-to-day process and work, right? The challenge that we have is we are frustrated with it, we do not note it down, and then we move on. And that problem never got the attention that was needed and probably didn't get resolved. And when we encounter that again, right, we say, why didn't I do something about it? Yeah. And what Kevin kind of advises, take down that note. You never know when the time will come where you could flash that up again. So as business users, as users in the construction industry, always take note of the issues, organize it at the right time, and who knows, at a platform like where we are today, there could be some solution that fit into what you're looking for. And a lot of the advice that the team has shared with you here certainly bring us to that particular aspect itself. I see that what is also important is we know we're going to start somewhere. We know we need to understand the problems we have and be able to articulate that to technologists who are trying to solve problem. In the journey of this whole transformation, it is very obvious that it's not going to be a smooth one. It is obvious that you're going to have a lot of technology out there. Which one do you pick? Which one would you consider? What are the one or two critical advice? I'm going to ask the panel, everyone here, all right? What are the 1 or 2 critical advice that you would give to the business owners here in the road, in the journey to search for a solution that fits into your need, right? There are many solutions out there, right? Of course, when we talk to specific vendors, they will show you what they have and not tell you what can be possible. So what can they do to advise to you, right? In this search for information, what 1 or 2 advice they will give to you in being able to work closely with technology providers, right? To find the solution that you would need to solve your business problems in the industry, right? So again, starting from Kevin, what 1 or 2 advice you would give to business users to close up the gap between demand and supply?
I guess the first piece of advice I would have is that not every company is going to have the answer, or rather not one single company is going to have the answer to all of your problems, right? So what is often going to happen is that you're going to have to piece together different parts, right? It's probably good to have somebody who's familiar with technology so that you're able to piece together the different solutions from different vendors, right? Because at the end of the day, you are running a multifaceted business. It's not going to be just purely about safety. You might have other requirements as well. You're probably going to have to piece together a solution from many other different solutions, all of whom are really, really good at what they do, right? So it's a good idea to be familiar with the ecosystem out there as well. The second piece of advice I would have is to really embrace disruption, right? Construction is one of the oldest industries there is, right? Yet it is constantly being disrupted as well, and we're in literally the disruption zone right now in BuildTech Asia. So one thing to do is to know that things are going to be disrupted, right? Your next year might look very different from this year. Just make sure that you are able to embrace it and be agile enough to make sure that you take advantage of it as well. Yeah, already start thinking about what GPT-4 might be able to do for your industry, for instance. Yeah, don't just pretend it doesn't exist or doesn't work, right? It's there. Deal with it.
Mika?
Yes, get excited. That may catch up with your coworkers, and the answer is coming, and you have a whole group wondering the issue what you have. Get excited.
Get excited, right? I like that. Stephen?
One of the good things about being here in Singapore is we've had a lot of help actually in terms of being matched with some companies that might need solutions via BCA. There's been a team there who have been helping to connect us with people who might need solutions. So my advice there would be to make sure that you're identified and that you're accessible and making it easy to be sort of matched and having these introductions made, because I think it is a really good place here for tracking what's happening in the industry and connecting people together, which definitely isn't the case in lots of other places around the world. It's a lot harder to actually make those introductions and to speak to the right people. So definitely, I recommend taking advantage of that.
Thank you. Katarina?
Being open-minded and look for solution instead of getting stuck into a problem.
Sure. Asi?
Try to look at the problem you are solving, your value proposition, always from your customer's point of view, and then try to keep it simple, as simple as possible. I guess that's my advice. I think, I guess the other one is use your investors, use your board members. They are your best, let's say, maybe the cheapest consultants you can use.
Sure. I would like to help summarize all that into one particular concept that's becoming a lot more popular nowadays, a T-shaped competency model. A T-shaped competency model. Now, one of the challenges with competency today is that our staff may be telling us, I'm only specialized in this area. I'm only good in that area. But when you put the project team together and you try to have them integrate and talk to each other, they talk in their own respective silos. As a business owner, I challenge you to be a T-shaped owner. In other words, you can have your own set of specialization, but you need to know enough across technology and other domains in order for you to lead, in order for you to be able to communicate across the different sectors and lead your organization into the adoption of technology, what we have put together here is a panel of speakers who come from different aspects: lawyer, civil engineer, homeowner, and so on and so forth. You know, one question which is being discussed in Bloomberg today quite a bit is AI above the law? That would be a good discussion, right? If you apply and deploy an AI technology into your industry, into your business, right? And if the outcome challenges, you know, some of the regulation, is it above the law? Can you blame AI for it? Or as a business owner, do you take responsibility for it, right? And if so, being the case, then you need to know sufficient around that in order for you to adopt